Picture this. You ask an AI chatbot a simple question, and in that split second, you just consume enough water to fill 3 tablespoons and release the same carbon emissions as watching a 10-second YouTube video. Welcome to Times of AI. I'm your host, and today we're diving deep into something the AI industry has kept surprisingly quiet about until now: the true environmental cost of artificial intelligence. Because just last month, French AI company Mistral did something unprecedented. They opened their books completely, revealing exactly what it takes, environmentally speaking, to build and run one of today's most powerful AI models. And folks, the numbers might just change how you think about that innocent ChatGPT query forever. Let's start with the elephant in the room. For years, the AI industry has been playing its environmental cards close to its chest. We've heard whispers about massive data centers and energy consumption, but concrete numbers? Those have been as rare as hen's teeth. That changed when Mistral released what appears to be the first comprehensive life cycle environmental assessment of a large language model. We are talking about Mistral Large 2, their flagship model with 123 billion parameters, and they tracked everything over 18 months. Everything. In plain English, this means we finally have a complete picture of what it actually costs our planet to create and operate cutting-edge AI. Technology here is bulletproof. Mistral followed the frugal AI framework developed by France's National Standards Organization, brought in environmental consultancies, and had the whole thing peer-reviewed by environmental auditors. This isn't corporate greenwashing. This is serious science. Now, let me put you in the driver's seat for a moment. The training phase alone, just teaching this AI model to understand and generate text, produced 20,400 metric tons of greenhouse gas emissions. To give you some perspective, that's equivalent to annual emissions from 4,400 gas-powered cars. But here's the kicker. It also consumed 281,000 cubic meters of water for cooling. That's enough water to supply the average American family of four for 500 years. But wait, there's more to the story. The ongoing operations, what we call training and inference, account for a whopping 85% of the model's total greenhouse gas emissions and 91% of its water consumption. This means the environmental cost doesn't stop once the model is trained. Every time you interact with it, the meter keeps running. Put simply, using AI isn't just about the upfront environmental cost, it's an ongoing environmental relationship. And here's where it gets personal for you as a user. Each time you send a prompt and get a response, we're talking about 400 tokens, roughly a page of text. You're responsible for 1.14 grams of CO2 emissions and 45 milliliters of water consumption. Now, that might sound tiny, but when you multiply it by billions of queries happening globally every day, well, you can see why this matters. Mistral's transparency isn't happening in vacuum. There's a growing recognition across the industry that we need standardized ways to measure AI's environmental impact. The IEEE, that's the Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers, is currently developing the P7100 standards specifically for measuring environmental impacts of AI systems. The standard aims to create harmonized measurements of compute intensity with associated environmental impacts, including everything from CO2 emissions to water consumption. The goal to separate AI-specific environmental costs from general-purpose computing, giving us clear accountability. But here's the thing, we're not just talking about measuring anymore. Companies like Google have already started making real changes. In their 2025 environmental report, they showed how their new Ironwood AI chips operate 30 times more efficiently than their 2018 counterparts, and they've managed to reduce the data center emissions by 12% despite a 27% in electricity consumption. Bottom line, the industry is waking up to the fact that sustainable AI isn't just nice to have, it's absolutely essential for the future. Now let me take you back a bit to understand why this moment is so significant. Throughout the history of computing, we've seen this pattern before. New technologies emerge with tremendous promise, but their environmental costs often remain hidden until they become too big to ignore. Think about it. In the early days of the internet, nobody was talking about the carbon footprint of data centers. But as our digital lives expanded, those costs become undeniable. We are seeing the same pattern with AI, but this time companies like Mistral are getting ahead of the curve. What makes this different is the scale and speed. Traditional computing evolved gradually over decades. AI capabilities are exploding exponentially, and with them, the resource demands. The arrival of generative AI has increased compute demands by several orders of magnitude, making environmental measurement not just important, but urgent. This transparency from Mistral could be the watershed moment that forces the entire industry to come clean about their environmental impact. After all, once one major player opens their books, the pressure on others to do the same becomes, well, let's just say it becomes harder to sweep under the rug. So where does this leave you as someone working in tech or following AI developments? First, this gives you a decision-making power you've never had before. When choosing AI tools for your organization, you can now factor in environmental impact alongside performance and cost. Mistral's audit provides what one expert called decision-making criteria previously unavailable. Simply put, environmental transparency is becoming a competitive differentiator in AI space. Second, this is reshaping how we think about AI efficiency. It's no longer just about how fast or accurate a model is, it's about how much environmental bang you get for your buck. This could drive innovation in ways we haven't seen before, pushing companies to create models that are not just powerful but genuinely sustainable. As we wrap up, here's the key takeaway. Mistral's environmental audit isn't just about one company being transparent, it's about fundamentally changing the conversation around AI development. We are moving from an era where environmental costs were hidden to one where they're front and center in every decision. The question now is whether AI has an environmental impact. We know it does. The question is whether the industry will rise to the challenge of making that impact sustainable and transparent. That's all for today's episode of Times of AI. If this got you thinking about the hidden costs of the technology we use every day, hit that subscribe button and join the conversation. Until next time, keep questioning, keep learning, and remember, in the world of AI, transparency isn't just good business, it's good for our planet.